So, Steam's market is full of virtual reality games, right? And a lot of them are really good. But what about the bad ones? What are they like? Do they really deserve their negative reputation? So for this video, I decided I'd try out the worst of the worst. I went on Steam and I sorted it for reviews, highest at the very top, lowest at the very bottom, and scrolled all the way down to the worst. From there, I picked a few that actually worked and didn't have reviews that said it didn't even launch, and installed them. And this is how it went. The first game I decided to play was Purge Man, which is probably based on the Purge movies, but it's not mentioned, so probably not. This game also costed $5, which I'll be taking into account when quote-unquote reviewing it. After loading into the game, the first thing I noticed was that there was a giant menu floating right in front of me and a van full of weapons. After picking up the AK and trying to load it, I noticed that my hand holding the magazine suddenly teleported like 5 centimeters away from where my actual hand was. That's where my actual hand is. Look how far away that is. Now the weapon system was actually not that bad. The game has this weird like socket loading system. The AK had no recoil, but the pistol had recoil. That's cool. The shotguns were also 10 times better than Bone Lab shotguns because you could actually load them fast. I'll touch on melee later, but for now I want to get into like the quote-unquote story. There is no real story. It's just a bunch of missions. That's it. The missions usually just go eliminate this many people with this thing, click this button, leave, and that's the loop. But the actual gameplay itself isn't really that bad. There are enemies that can shoot at you, but they rarely ever hit you, and there's also just NPCs. But the map is so barren of just any life that you can literally see people spawning. There's also a door you can open, but it doesn't mean anything. There's nothing in here. You also have unlimited ammo. Now with melee, there's both blunt and sharp objects. The baseball bat takes like around 3 hits everywhere to kill anyone. And the machete is pretty much a one-shot if you just tap them. But what's cool about the machete compared to the baseball bat is that the machete can decapitate and dismember, which is too much for me to show on YouTube, but it's pretty cool. You can also drive, but you don't actually use your hands to steer. Even though you can grab the wheel, you still have to use the, as they say, trackpad, but it's the joystick. The right joystick steers and the left joystick drives, forward, backward. There's also a flamethrower, which has a really messed up grip detector on the mag. You have to put your hand way below it, and then even then, it sometimes doesn't work. And the damage is way too low, so you kind of have to waste the entire mag just on one person. And also during this level, the screen would sometimes go green or blue or red or like some random color. If you beat all the game modes, you can unlock a sandbox, but some of them are really, really boring and really, really long. So after completing the machete mission, I just decided I had enough purging and quit the game. So what did I give it for a review? Well, let's go over it together. Honestly, this game isn't that bad. I don't really understand all the negativity in these reviews. The game is fairly detailed with really minor bugs such as hand displacement. Other than that, it's pretty polished, kinda, sorta. I think $5 is a fair price for this game. It has a ton of missions for you to accomplish, as well as a sandbox after completing every mission. 4 out of 10. The next game I got was called Dream Pets VR, which starts off with the most ear-piercing, make your ear bleed sound ever from pressing start. You then have to pick which dog you want, but I'm more of a cat person, so I picked the one that most resembled a cat. You then have to dress up the dog, which seems kind of weird, but I did it anyway. I made the coolest dog out there. Might as well call him a cool cat at that point. Then you have to put perfume on the dog? What? Okay, I guess. And then you finally get to take a picture of your dog, because I know you're just so proud of it. And the last thing you do in the whole game is play fetch with the worst throwing physics ever, where the frisbee is delayed behind your hand. I got a score of 10, so if you can beat my score, you better delete it. Don't tell me you beat it. And that's the game. It kicks you back to the main menu where you can do the same thing with the rest of the dogs. Keep in mind, this game was not cheap. Now it is time to review the game. I can't review this one because it was too short, but it would say too short. That's it. The next game I got was called Escape Room VR. Why are these ending with VR? The first thing I noticed is that my hands were not where my hands should be, but that would be the least of my worries in about 4 seconds when I realized they get even more displaced when I rotate. There's also no way to rotate by using the joysticks, so I just had to deal with it. After pressing start, I was loaded into like a weird spaceship type thing, where this piece of paper told me that I could use the orbs and put them in the center to teleport places, I guess. I then grabbed the yellow orb and put it into the center, and it teleported me to the most barren, empty room I've ever seen. It had a bed, a cabinet, and a target with a few green balls. Instinctively, I hit the target, and then investigated the room. Also, the throwing is terrible. I don't know what the detection for it is, but it's not good. Upon investigating the room, I noticed that there was a yellow note that I was supposed to read earlier, and it basically just said that there was a missing color on this weird like wall thing. I guess I did this ahead of time, but there was a yellow ball just right there, so I put that in. And then my hand got really messed up, but that was the end of the level pretty much. So the thing from the spaceship was here, so I just put the yellow orb in the thing again, and that brought me back. But this time, where the ball was, had the number 9 at it. So I did the same thing again, but with this bluish grayish ball. And this brought me to a prison cell with a note that said maybe I could find a hammer to break this glass. I wasn't really sure what the glass was, but I just assumed it was this blue thing over the sink. Inside was half of a key, and the other half was right next to it on the sink, and the key obviously fit to this door, jail cell door thing. So of course I checked behind the toilet and found a button, which opened the cabinet, but I didn't notice for a long time. So inside the cabinet was the hammer. So right when I picked it up, I went over to the glass and broke it, and then assembled the key and unlocked the door. Inside this other room was a counter with 3 different colors. I immediately got that I had to count how many balls there were, and at first there were 2 yellow, 1 red, and no green, until I tore off this secret wall panel, and there were a lot more than I thought. After inputting those, I got another orb and did the same thing again, got another number, and then put the other last orb in. This orb teleported me to a forest with a note that basically just said shoot all the targets. So after shooting all the targets, I got the orb and left, and it gave me the last number. It's the easiest level by far. With all the orbs finished, I could finally input the code using these little number things. After putting in the code, the doors kind of opened and then just teleported me back to the main menu, where there was a note that just had lore, and then I flipped it over and there was a number that said like 5 equals 9 or 9 equals 5. So I loaded back in and the numbers were still there, thankfully, so I just replaced 9 with 5 or 5 with 9. And that gave me more lore, so I know all the lore of this game now. Honestly, for a free game, it was pretty good despite the bugs. So what did I review it? You'll see. This game doesn't deserve all the negative rep it gets. You can complete it regardless of the bugs on one specific level. The bow and arrow level, the hands fix themselves. I found that quite enjoyable. I beat the game once and read the note provided. After reading, I realized it was hinting at a alternate ending. I then flipped the paper and got a clue on how to get the other ending. After going back and completing that ending, I learned a lot about the story and lore. I hope a sequel will arrive. 7 out of 10. Even with bugs, it was still silly and fun. So that's the video. That's all the games I got. There was one that wouldn't, so you missed out on that one, but you didn't miss out on much. Again, this video was way different than my usual, but I thought it was fun. I had fun making it. It was more like a video I enjoyed making rather than just Bone Lab over and over. So, you know, if you like this video, like, subscribe, all that, because it'll boost it in the algorithm, and I kind of need that with this. Bye now. Bye-bye. Bye.